Hello, you guys. Donna, I've sent you an invite to speak, but Twitter is acting crazy right now. That's why we're a few minutes late because it wouldn't even let me start a space. So, Donna, if you can request in the bottom left corner of your screen, it says request, then I'll be able to approve you as a speaker. That would be great.
Yeah, it wasn't showing you on there, Sherry, for a couple minutes too. So I imagine something is kind of weird with the spaces today. But either way, hopefully we'll be able to get Donna up here and record this, and even if it's
And
a
Donna,
little, the
be
joining and stuff is weird.
Donna, be reminded you cannot be a speaker unless you're on a telephone. There she comes. Okay, perfect. Are you there, Donna? Let's do a mic check. Just go ahead and click the mic button in the bottom left, and let's do a mic check before we get started. Donna, click the mic on the bottom left of your screen so we can do a mic check to make sure that we can hear you. I'm going to say it one more time, Donna. I need you to click on the bottom left of your screen, the microphone, to click it on, so we can make sure you have a good connection. And be reminded you cannot be on a PC or on a iPad. You have to be on your telephone. So if you're not on your telephone, we're going to have to wait until you leave us and come back on your telephone.
Good point there, Sherry.
Thank you. I know she sent me a note a few minutes before we started that she was okay. She said she's clicking. Oh, okay. At least I know you can hear me. Um, that's weird. Donna, there is a little heart on the bottom of your screen toward the right. There's a little heart. If you press on that little heart, there's going to be emojis. I want you to give me a thumbs up if you're on your telephone.
The mystery
The mystery
continues.
continues. Okay. Donna, I'm going to say to you that the problem might be because of your headset you're trying to use. So I would suggest maybe leaving the space and coming back in just on your phone, no headset. Just on your phone, no headset. I think the headset may be prohibiting you from doing some things with us. Give us a funny story while I text her for a moment, Brian. Tell us about your train woes.
Funny. Okay, so I'm on the train, guys. I'm late. This is the day of the year I have to go down. I'm in here, like it's bizarre. Like I have my own kind of cabin in here, and this is the one day a year I go to LA for the Microsoft program to teach, to try to get the students to get through the Microsoft certifications and stuff like that. So spent the day down there. Um, I honestly, Sherry, like I love it. Honestly, like um, these students, not the best neighborhood, and we're coming in there, and giving them like real world skills, right? Like they can use. Like all these schools, they're trying to figure out what do we do? What do we teach kids? Like every day technology changes. They're all trying to figure it out. I said to my wife's a teacher, I said, why are we trying to figure this out? Why don't we go with, I don't know, the number one business application for the last 20 years, Microsoft Office, and get these kids certified? So we've been doing that for about 6 years. So anyway, um, Donna, oh, it sounded like
Yeah,
somebody
we have a new,
got up
yeah.
here.
Um,
But anyway, so I went down there today, and it's just really inspiring, like to talk to these kids and you know all of that kind of stuff. So I see Donna's
oh,
requesting here.
perfect. Let's
I'll let
try it
you.
again. Uh,
Do you want to
yep,
click
yep,
it?
yep,
Do
yep.
you have it? Okay, good.
No problem. All right, let's try it again, Donna.
Oh, I hear her. I hear a beep.
Now I
There,
hear you.
There she
there we
is.
go.
Hello, ma'am. We did it.
I think there's sound effects somewhere here, but I think you get kicked off the panel if you
Yes,
use
you
them,
do.
right,
Yes, you
Sherry?
do. I'm glad we figured it out, Donna. Please meet my pal Brian. We co-host this together. Brian, meet Donna.
Hi, Brian.
Great to meet you, Di.
It's my
Great
pleasure.
to meet you, Donna.
Thank you.
Yeah, been looking forward to this all
Well,
week.
let me just give a little intro now that we got all the technical stuff out of our way. Our guests' roots are in a coal mining camp in Virginia, but currently resides in Florida. Donna has had careers in modeling, acting, marketing, advertising, real estate, professional speaking, journalism, and gaming, to name a few. At 6'5", our guest excelled at many sports, and in 1998 she became an international poker journalist and began competing in poker tournaments. Donna's Hendon Mob it has a total live earnings over $80,000. In 2007, Donna took her $215 investment straight to a $51,000 WSOP main event win, which remains her best cash to date. You can catch up on our guests' podcasts via her website, biggirlpoker.com. Until then, let's welcome Donna Blevins to the Poker Insiders.
Well, that's great. There's no way I can follow that, Sherry.
Well, we're gonna think of a few ways, but tell us. I'll tell you what. Let's start with your $215 parlay into the main event. Please tell us about that.
Well, it was absolutely amazing because at that time in 2007, I have to admit my poker bankroll was non-existent, and I was decided I would take a small amount of coin and I would earn my entry through online poker. I actually did it through Full Tilt at the time. And the first time I played in one of the satellites, the mega satellites, it was really my first time in a big satellite, and I was doing so well. I had so many chips. When we got to the bubble, everyone that got past that bubble would get $12,000, $10,000 for the entry, and $2,000 for travel. I was so frantic. I pissed away most of it, and I ended up being the bubble girl. But I was able to cash for, I mean, like we do that, right? And I cashed for 2,000, and I thought, well, it gives me the bank to do a few more rounds, and I was able to play one more time and get, I was able to get calm. Was able to calm myself down when I got to the bubble, and I was able to. The second time around, I was able to do that. And I actually, the next day was the last online mega tournament, a mega satellite into the main event. And I told my husband, I said, look, I'm going to transfer some money to your account. Why don't you earn your entry too, and he did the next day. So it was a wonderful event to go to. It was like what everyone dreams of, and it was fantastic for my ego. It was great for relationship, and I love poker.
That's amazing. That is so amazing. And, on the heels of my interview with Maureen, who took $11 investment online and turned it into a $21,000 package to Vegas, which she should be arriving in Vegas in a couple of hours. It's just amazing. You ladies have done great things. How did poker save your?
I,
Oh,
I, I
go
have,
ahead.
I have goosebumps. I just love stories like that. Like main event. Oh my gosh, I love it.
So it's so fun, and then to cash it is just amazing to me. I love it.
It's a
Yeah,
dream.
absolutely.
Sherry, Sherry, you get into the money in the main event, and I'm telling you, and I know we've talked about this before. You're looking around the room. First off, you're in one room, which is like, you've been so many days like split up as a field. Now you're in one room, okay? And a few hours go by, and you look around, and they're putting away tables. Okay, they're literally packing up tables for the year a lot of times, right?
Right.
And you're sitting there saying, "OMG!" Like seriously, Sherry, Donna, what place did you come in?
Well,
What?
I was rough. I know exactly where I was.
Oh, of course, I said that. It was like,
I was the fourth woman, and I was number four in the women, and that's Maria Ho actually busted out of the main event with the same hand that I busted
Wow.
out with. And she was on my podcast quite a few years ago, and it was so fun because she and I were in the restroom on the break, and neither one of us would talk to each other. We were just like in our own head, calming ourselves down, and it was an amazing thing. And frankly, I have to say that if you ask my husband, I was a flaming bitch the 2 weeks after I busted out of the tournament.
Oh,
"Oh yeah,
poor.
you're not happy." No
Oh,
way.
and from the standpoint of doing my mind shifting work today, I did not know how to handle that loss properly, and I made a really stupid mistake. And when you make an idiot move, you blame yourself, and this guilt and blame and shame, it is one of the biggest problems that poker players have when they lose. Rather than beating themselves up, it's important to shift their mindset and find the lesson within that rather than just saying, oh crap, I just played such a shitty hand.
So true. No truer words. No truer
Right.
words. Tell us how poker saved your life, Donna.
Well, in 1996, I was the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs real estate management broker for 5 counties in Southwest Florida. And I had been doing that since 1991, and I was overwhelmed with work. I was working 17 hours a day. Both my husband and I were working 7 days a week. I had no time off. And when the Seminoles put card tables in their bingo halls, there was an article in our weekly newspaper. I lived in Bonita Springs at the time. It was a very small town at the time. And they said they had put these tables there. And I said to my husband, could you teach me how to play poker? I really need some recreation. And it was funny because he had always been a really good poker player, didn't play in Florida because there really wasn't any place to play. He was from California and he had wonderful opportunities there. And I could see the gears in his head when I asked that. I could see him going, oh, it's a guy's game. Well, but if I teach her how to play and she really likes it, then I can play more. He said, sure, I'll teach you how to play. So I'm sitting in Immokalee, Florida at the Seminole bingo hall at the table. And I had probably been playing off and on for probably about 6 weeks. And I'm sitting there in this hand. It was 7-card stud, as a matter of fact. That's what I learned to play. And I'm thinking about this contractor that I had dealt with that day and what an asshole he was. And I'm thinking about the fact I've got to send out specifications tomorrow. I'm in this hand, mind you. And it was like the poker god smacked me on my forehead, and I heard a voice that said, there's only one thing that ever exists. That's the cards that you have. And it was that moment that I came to the point of mindfulness, and it was as if I went into that zone of complete calm and everything else disappeared outside of that poker table. And it was a gift that poker gave me, because it was like I took a deep breath and went, oh, and it was like, past cards are gone. They don't exist. Future cards are not here. They will never be here. It's only the cards you have. So from that standpoint, it was astonishing in relationship to how poker saved my life.
Amazing. I love that story. I need to do a little house cleaning. First, a word about our sponsor, Elevated Results, whose purpose is to provide a service to help people reach their desired fitness goals, whether it be to gain weight, lose weight, or to improve your sports performance. Elevated Results can help you reach your goals. And we thank them for their sponsorship. Now, could you tell us, Donna, what type of training, one-on-one training or group training, do you offer um, for mindset activities, or just your, I know you offer courses from time to time, and one-on-one training. Could you tell us about that?
Well, it's been a query that I had as to whether or not it was the right time for me to come back out and do what I have done in the past. I was on a sabbatical for 3.5 years, caregiving for my mother, until about this time last year in 2022. And I had to step away from the poker in relationship to training and coaching. And oddly enough, I asked a little while back, am I supposed to be coaching poker players? And lo and behold, a poker player reached out and said, hey, I need your help. And it's like one of those things that if you want to know, just ask it and then be quiet and listen. And I have been in the process of deciding whether or not to reopen Poker Mindset Academy, which focuses on the mind shifting exercise that I've created over decades. And so I'm on the point of determining whether or not there is the need for the mindset work. And when I go out and look at social, I'm pretty determined that there is. What do you think, Sherry?
100%. 100%. And I see 1,000 reasons a day.
Yeah, and interesting, because I saw something that Daniel Negreanu had posted saying, he's gotten older and he realizes, he needs a break. And it made me realize that one of the things in a relationship, the mindset work, has to do with evaluating past play. It has to do with journaling. It has to do with figuring out what your self-talk is. Our game, our poker game, our life is determined by what we say to ourselves. We are a creature of habit, and our mind is, well, our body is the vehicle, our mind is the driver. And our subconscious mind, well, we have a conscious mind, which is like an iceberg. Imagine that above the waterline. That's the conscious mind. Our subconscious mind is close to 90%. And our subconscious mind is full of all of this garbage that we've collected over the years. And unless we know how to reprogram that, and we can reprogram that with very specific ways that can be really fast, but you have to know how to do it. And I create some methods that I find to be very helpful. And I'd like to share a few of them with the people who are listening. And by the way, Whoever listening, I want to tell you that I am talking directly with you because I believe we are all energetically connected. And that's my intention as well, to let people know that I love poker players just the way they are, even when they're jerks, because I believe this game it can be life-saving for people when they learn how to use it to strengthen their habits in life, when they learn how to find out what they're doing incorrectly, what they're doing in their life, and how you can actually take things that you do well in your life and you can translate that to poker and excel. You can take also habits that you do in your life and you can translate that to poker and you can screw it up, but you can see at the poker table what you're really good at. And it's like, I see the poker table as a finite university. It's finite because the only people that we play against is the people at that one table. I mean, when I entered the main event in 2007, there was 6,400 entrants. And it was the one thing that I was able to do that I want poker players to realize is that regardless of how big this event is, I mean, I've been in one of those that had 20,000 entrants, you're only playing against the people at your table. And when you can shift to that mindset, it's an entirely different game.
Go ahead and continue
Yeah,
on
and
with.
and
Go ahead, Brian.
and being present is such an important thing. Like this summer, Sherry laughs at me because I was telling her about Dutch Boyd and I talking, and Dutch like was doing some coaching with me, and he says to me, "Put your effing phone away, like focus." He's like, "Poker is life," and he's like so like on this different level of seriousness for it than I was on. Um, but being present is such a big thing, and I love what you said about poker being such a strong thing for life and things like that. So, and that's so inspiring. Like seriously, I really appreciate what you're saying.
Donna,
Well,
could you go ahead and continue on with a mindset activity for us?
sure. And I've been trying to figure out what would be the most effective. I think the first thing has to do with creating the habit of taking the time to evaluate a session. And I'll talk about tournament poker to begin with, because we're talking about tournaments. One of the biggest fallacy, the biggest problem that I was able to define with people was that they would play in a tournament, they'd bust out, and they'd go right into another tournament. Even if they won, they'd go right into another tournament. I mean, that to me is a waste, because in order to be able to excel and increase your win rate, you have to go through a process of evaluation. I have a 3-question process that I call it an after action review. It's funny because the United States military, what they call it, after action report. And when I was doing some research, I found that their questions are very similar. And I thought, hey, did one of these guys go to my class?
Probably.
Where did they do that? And I think that this is really critical because it's a practice that I've taught. I don't know how many people, who knows what the numbers are, but it's one of the things that I start out with if it's an individual training, or if it's individual coaching or one-on-one group when they're in together, is this practice. And the first thing you want to do, and I had to teach my coaching clients how to do this, because they would want to jump on a call with me and say, oh man, I just screwed up. And I'm going, halt, wait a minute, tag. And a tag is a process that I ask. That's, do I have permission to verbally, gently tag you and have you come to my voice rather than go off on a tangent? So that's what the tag is for me. And it works really well because it's a whole lot better than me saying, shut up and listen. So tag works really well. And it's, rather than go into all the mistakes, the first question is that you ask yourself is, What did I do well? And you've got to focus on that to begin with, because that changes the energy, the resonance of the event to what did I do well. Even if you feel like you've made the biggest mistake, you have to go back to that first question is, what did I do well? And find that. And sometimes people go, I haven't found anything that I do well. Yes, you have. You have to get to that point. And when you look at it that way, all of a sudden, even when it's a huge loss, it changes. It changes the way you feel. And this actually originally evolved from decades ago when it was the three questions that my husband and I used in relationship to sales. And it was originally, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? And the reason it's not what did I do well rather than right or even correctly is that indicates there's judgment. So what did I do well is a forgiving way to look at what you've done. And that's the first question. The second question, rather than what did I do wrong, because that's judgmental. And you have to look at what you've done in an accepting, forgiving way to be able to go to the next level, to be able to increase the win rate of your game, change the way you feel about it. So the second question is, what might I have done differently? It's no shoulding. Don't should in my house. It's might. What might I have done differently? It's a powerful way to look at what you've just done. You're going, what might I have done differently? Where was that? Because the way we grow is by making mistakes. And when we get out of our comfort zone, that's where we excel the most. And the third question is simple. What can I do to be more effective? No shoulds in it again. It's what can I do? That's an action. So those three questions are a great way to shift the way you feel. And even now, let's make a wonderful assumption that you've just won a tournament. If you jump right back into another tournament, you have wasted this win. Granted, there's money there, but in order to now take that win and really magnify it, do the same questions, because you want to revel in it. You want to anchor it. When you have a win, you want to anchor it on multiple levels. You want to look back at that and you want to identify, what were you wearing? What was the environment? What are the smells around you? You want to take that win feeling and you want to anchor it, just put it in your DNA so that you can pull it back up. When you have had the worst time, you can pull that memory up and you can revisit it, because we can create winnings in ways that are far beyond the statistics. We can create that by manifesting. And yes, I believe manifestation works in poker. It's not that I can call a card to me, although I've been really, really lucky, and I am really, really lucky. It's that we can find ourselves in that place of winning, in that place of mindfulness. Without the mindfulness, we might as well just piss our money away, because it's that place of understanding what the winning is. And when we win, you've got to journal about that, writing it down. I'm not talking about pecking it into your phone. I'm talking about getting a pen and paper. And as Brian said, put the phone away, because it's important for you to really savor it and really, what did I do well when I won? And you really want to identify it, because you could have made some real stupid moves and won those. Well, that's great when you do that, but you want to identify what those were as well, because you don't want to confirm that, okay, if you play like that, if you do the idiot poker that I call it, then you're going to win. You want to identify, why did that work and the situation. So you want to really journal about those winnings. And when I talk about taking all the senses, you really want to savor that. Because when you have a high from winning, if you jump right into another tournament, you're going to lose that. But you really want to savor it. And when you do that, you will win more often. Are you here?
Yeah, I love it. I'm just letting that cook in the brain. I think that it's so many valid points rolled into such a nice little sushi roll. I just love it. I absolutely love it. Tell us, what was the best advice you got from a WSOP main event champion?
Oh, well, it's actually two of them. The very, very first main event champion that I met was Jack Keller, who was the 1984 WSOP main event champion. And I met him in 1998, moments after I became a poker journalist. We were in Tunica, Mississippi. My husband had taken me to the Horseshoe because he said, I'm going to take you someplace where there's real poker, because that was when the Seminoles, it was in Florida, it was 25-cent, 50-cent poker, and in cash when the pot got to $10 after the house had taken $2.50. The pot froze. There was no more betting. So that was not it was not
Crazy.
real. Oh, it was insane. And anyway, so he took me to Horseshoe, and I had sent in a query letter. I was going to send it to Card Player, but Poker Digest had just published, and I saw the very first issue with Scotty Wynn on the cover, and I wrote a query letter and sent it to Poker Digest, and got a call from our service, and there was a message from Poker Digest that said, "We've picked up your column. Send us 6 more." And I went, crap, I have to go interview people. So I walked up to him and I said, "Hello, I'm Donna Blevins. I am a poker journalist and I would like to interview you." And he said, "No." And he walked away. And I
Scott,
was just devastated. And I'm
Of
standing there.
course.
I mean, I'm
Scotty
just,
Wynn? Scotty
no, no, it,
Winston?
it was, it
Oh,
was Jack Keller.
oh,
Jack
And
okay.
Keller.
yeah, Jack Keller, and the 1984 World Series of Poker main event champion. And he had his wife on his arm. She was absolutely gorgeous. And she came up to me, and I must have been standing there almost in tears. And she patted me on the arm, and she said, "Just come over here and sit down with me." And I said, "Okay, don't know what to do." And she said, "Let's sit here behind the table where he's playing." He was playing 2040 cash, and he was playing, I think it was Hold'em he was playing at the time. And it was huge. It was huge game. I mean, these guys pulled out their big rolls of cash and put them on the table. I mean, it was a massive game. And I said, "But I can't interview him." She said, "That's okay. Just sit over here and be quiet, and he'll turn around and he'll say things to you later." And I said, "So he doesn't want to be interviewed?" She said, "No, but if you sit over here quietly, he'll say things to you." And I said, "Okay." And the one thing that he said that was most important is he said, "Donna, there's only one thing that's important in poker." He said, "It's you must make correct decisions." It's not just some of the time, not most of the time, but it's all the time. It doesn't even matter if you win. It matters the quality of your decisions." And I went, whoa, that's astonishing. And I have to put Greg Raymer, who was the 2004 World Series of Poker main event champion, I have to put him right up there, because I flew from Florida to Los Angeles for the reception just after he won at the Bicycle. And I walked up to him, I put my hand out, and I'm going to shake his hand. And I said, "Greg, I'm Donna." He said, "Donna, I know who you are." And I said, "How do you know that?" And he said, "I read all your stuff." And I said, I was flabbergasted. And I said, "But why? My column is the beginner's corner." And he said, "Yes." He said, "Every poker player has to continually go back to basics." And I was honored. And it's the fact is that he said, even the most advanced poker players have to always go back to basics and remember the basics. It's one of the best things for our game.
I think that's still true to today, don't you?
Yeah, I do. And all these new things that are out, and frankly, I look at these letters and I go find Google it and find out what the hell they're talking about. And I do, I mean, it's been close to nearly 5 years since I've competed seriously or had the opportunity to travel. In fact, tomorrow I'm actually traveling to Best Bet in Jacksonville not tomorrow, but on Monday. The WPT
I'm
is
so
going to be
happy
there.
to hear that.
Yeah, I'm going to compete in the ladies event on Tuesday. And I wanted to do at least one little event, and it's about 3 hours from me, so I'm going to do that.
I love that. I'm so happy. I wish I was going to be there with you.
Me too.
Um, we'll catch up soon. I promise we will. Do you have another mindset activity you'd like to?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out what the best thing to do. It's probably
Uh-oh, did we lose you, Donna?
Yeah, I couldn't hear anything for a second either. I don't know.
Donna, are you there?
Hopefully she'll come back. That that is such like like some of these things, right? Is it's just really interesting to hear. Um, it just makes you think about how to perceive things and change how you think about things. I'm a big believer too, though, in just what is your motivation for playing poker? Of course, as soon as I get on, they want to talk on the thing. Sorry about that, you
Brian's on
guys.
the train trying to get home from work. That's so
I'm on
funny.
the train. Um, but yeah, like it's just such an interesting thing. Like I think it's really important, like when you're playing, to go have to have fun playing, and enjoying the win is such a like smart thing. It makes me think of like Negranu and all these people going there and running around all summer and playing every event and trying to just keep going. I'll tell you an interesting thing as I was thinking about too, as Donna gets back on here. It looks like um, last summer I was sitting there and um, I was watching Sean Deeb. He was on the rail with um, with Josh Area when Josh won the bracelet. Okay,
Right.
and it was all pros left at this table. There was one guy that was like, I think he was from Japan, and he was having fun. He was the fun player. Certainly, many players probably better than him at the table. He was having fun, but it was hilarious watching that situation because Sean is sitting on the rail, and Sean and Josh are doing this thing where they end up like getting everybody else to buy into the fun of this guy and watch Josh walk away with the bracelet. Josh was very much focused on what was going on.
The
He
old
was
smoke
in
and mirrors, eh?
he was absolutely in the zone. He had them laughing. I think he told us on the show, remember Sherry, he came on
Yep.
after that. And he talked about the one hand where the guy, they're at the final table for a bracelet, and with four people left or so, Josh has like not in like he's all in for the blind, and the button folds because the guy wants to go to the restroom. Like he
Yep.
can't fold. And because he folded, Josh ends up beating the other guy and then goes on and wins the bracelet. Like this stuff like is reality. Like if you're tuned in, um,
If you're
then you're
present.
gonna do better. You got to be present. And the other thing too is I think it's so important to enjoy it on some level. The sick thing about poker is this whole notion, like we talked about yesterday. You go deep in the main event and you don't win, no matter where you go out, you're not happy. And
Oh,
on
Right.
you're
some level,
right.
on some level, like, right, like we got 20,000 people or whatever 10,000 people, whatever the number is, um, and we got one person that's going to leave happy, and it's
One winner,
like,
the rest are losers and
and
learners. Come
and it's
on.
such reality. I had a friend a few years ago. He won $3.8 million, Sherry. 3.8 million. He finished third in the main event. He texts me the next day. We should have him on, by the way. He texts me the very next day, and he says, "I woke up yesterday feeling depressed." And then I realized how stupid that is. It's like,
You have 3.8 million reasons why not to be depressed, dude.
So let me ask you, where was I when my phone disconnected?
Oh, Donna, God bless you. Okay, I had just asked you if you had another activity you would like to share, and that's where we cut out.
Okay, so let's assume that you have the biggest loss and you feel so badly about that. So the thing of it is bring that to mind. You want to get in a quiet location, bring that to mind and close your eyes and ask it to show itself in your mind's eye. You want to relate, you want to rate where you are on that discomfort scale, with discomfort being like pain. 10 is the worst. So you want to relate, you have to quantify this process. Now here's where the statistics come in. Unless you do this sort of practice, you're not going to know what's going on because you have this chatter in your brain. We have 70,000 thoughts a day, for God's sakes. 70,000. About 20,000 of those are repetitive. I've often wondered where they come up with that. Do they hook something up to my brain and see it? I have no idea. But those are the numbers that I don't know. So what you do is you bring this situation to mind, you get quiet, and you ask it to show itself in your mind's eye, and you rate on this discomfort scale where you are. Let's say it's a 10 of the negative, it's the worst. And what you want to do is, first of all, the first step is to forgive yourself. It is an amazing process because you have to go in the process of self-forgiveness. If we fail to forgive ourselves and try to guilt ourselves, it screws up our game. We lose more money. It is one of the costliest things we can do. And you go through a process of forgiveness, and it's an odd sort of process because you're going, I can't forgive myself. Just hush up and listen. Do I forgive you and say your name? And say, I do. I really do forgive you. And you want to say, please, would you forgive me? Yes, I forgive you, and say your name. And then say, I love you, and say your name. And then say, thank you, and say your name. And then you are forgiven, and say your name. And that may sound like really odd, especially to poker players. It may sound too woo-woo on the woo-woo side, but let me tell you what, that process of self-forgiveness is astonishing. Then you ask the situation to show itself in a three-dimensional form in your mind's eye. With your eyes closed, you're looking at it. Now, when you see it in your mind's eye, it is no longer out there and all around you. It now has boundaries. It is finite. It no longer consumes you and sucks your soul. And then you notice it, and you be with it for a few moments, and you notice it. You acknowledge it. Regardless of the situation, you just acknowledge it. And then you step back one step. You've got your eyes closed and you step back and you're notice that you're watching it. You step back one step and you say, isn't that interesting? And as you do, this three-dimensional form begins to move away from you. It's interesting. It dims. It gets lighter. Wow. You step back one more step and you say, isn't that interesting? And as you do, it moves further and further away. It's getting smaller. It's dimming. And the third time you step back and you laugh and say, isn't that interesting? And as you do, it disappears. And then what you do is you open your eyes, you look up and to your right, you pivot your body 45 degrees to the right, and you continue looking up, and you ask, where would I rather be? and you let it go. And you come back and you say, where am I on that discomfort scale right now in relationship to how I felt a few moments ago? And there have been people who have gone from a 10 to a 2, even a 10 to a 0. It might be 10 to 5. But you want to have the before and after numbers, because without that quantification, you don't have evidence. And the process is very subtle. You bring the situation into finite in your mind, and that puts the boundaries around it. It no longer consumes you. By stepping back and detaching, you become the detached observer. You learn from it and you benefit from it without allowing it to consume you. When you open your eyes and you look up and to the right, you are accessing your right hemisphere of the brain. When you pivot your body 45 degrees to the right and continue looking up, you're adding subtle body movements to a mental exercise. And when you add these subtle movements to it, it is far more effective than just thinking about it. So that's the, isn't that interesting? People have called that my signature mind shift exercise, and they have said, that's all I ever need to learn. It's one of them, but it's one of the ones that I would suggest you use continually.
Wow, thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely going to try it at some point. And of course, I will give you my feedback.
Well, the important thing is that you do it continually. I have shared that in events before, and I would have people have these amazing shifts. And 2 weeks later, they would call me and they say, it's no longer working. And I said, excuse me, what do you mean? This, isn't that interesting? No longer works. This thing bothers me again. And I said, how many times have you done it since you first did it? And they said, oh, only that once. And I said, okay, how many times have you taken a shower? And it's not a once and done, it's a repetition. And what's interesting is once you do this continually until your body understands it, until your subconscious mind understands the process, do it repetition, because repetition is the mother of creation, and is the repetition is what makes things permanent. And by doing it repetitive, it's just like an athlete, for goodness sakes. I mean, you can become a mind-shifting athlete, Olympian athlete, by continually doing it. Because if you take this one mind shift exercise and you continually do it until your subconscious mind understands that, then all you have to do when something really pisses you off, when you're about to take somebody's head off, is you can say, And what's going to happen is your subconscious mind can take you through that 7-step process instantly. And with a simple, you will find that your energy will shift to the positive in an amazing way. And it will be, you'll be surprised that you have the ability to shift your mindset in real time by one simple tone.
I love that. I absolutely love that. Um, I have I'm trying to think of how to phrase this question. Okay, so say I'm sitting at a poker table and I'm just inside my own head. I'm not focused. I had a bad beat about, 2 hours ago. I'm just negative Nancy in my head. But what are some of the self-talk? Some of the self-talk that you would recommend for somebody in that position?
Well, for one thing, if you're in that position, even if you're in a tournament, I'm going to say get your butt up for a minute and get away from the table. You've got to do some movement. And granted, it might be in a place where you're bleeding some chips off if you get up, but you really have to stand up. You have to move. You have to do something to get out of your head, because it's that. Remember, I said you add the physicality to it,
Right.
and there's the process of, if you can't get away from the table because what's going on, get up from the chair, walk around the chair and go ahead and wait to sit back down until you have to. Because today, with the fact that when they deal the cards, if you're away from the table, your cards are automatically folded, but you can be standing at your chair and holding with a hand on your chair. You can be there and you can be standing up until it's your time to look at the cards. So that would be the first thing I would suggest you do, because it's not a case if that Nelly is there, if you're doing this own blame game, if you're right there, you've got to do something physical to get away from that. And there's processes that, you can, by doing and understanding them, isn't that interesting? It's like you might ask yourself a question. Is this really where I want to be? When we ask ourselves a question like that, you're going to go, well, do I really want to be in this place of self-pity? And you have to realize that it's self-pity. And it's one of the things that is the most damaging thing to our game, is getting in there. Because when I was doing some online coaching on radio shows, it was, gosh, Wade Andrews?
I do not.
Wade originally, let's see, he originally, what was his? It was Texas Hold'em Radio, I think is what it originally was. And it's now a portal to online poker, I think. And I was doing weekly a guest for him. And he said, what do you want to do? And I said, well, let's do some real in-person and on-air coaching. And I said, and he'd have 17-minute segments, and then he would go into the sponsorship. And by the way, be sure to announce your sponsorship. You should be there. Buy one. I'll give you
elevated results. Thank you very much.
Okay. And so I would ask him to bring on 3 poker players, not right into the session, but have 3 poker players lined up that weren't professional poker players, ones that I did not know. And, they could be advanced poker players, whatever, but they felt like they wanted something for their game. And one of the best sessions that I ever had, and it's about what the words that you're saying to yourself. And it was this very successful man from Manhattan. And he came on, and I asked him, what was he planning in poker? And he said he was going to Atlantic City the next week. He said, I'm going to Atlantic City for my next bad beat. And I sat there and went, oh, he just manifested a bad beat.
Perfect.
And I just went, okay, so do you realize that you've set your intention to go get a bad beat? He said, I don't even know what an intention is. And I said, well, okay, let's talk about that. And the intention that I have set has become it's a poker blessing, and it evolved a lot from my first advice. And it's to intend to make correct decisions with the information that you have and remain unattached to the outcome. Because that's the biggest problem in poker, is when you've made the correct decisions and you still bust out and you've still got a bad beat. I mean, that does hurt, but you have to focus on the correct decisions, and you have to get to the point of being detached. This playing with detached interest is a profound place to be. It's mindfulness to the next level. And in relationship to that, we talked about the intention, and when we reset his intention, he said, what is your intention? He said, well, my intention is to win the main event. Or the one he's going to play in. I don't know if it was the main event or not, but it was to win one of the events he was going to play in. He contacted me the next week, and he had won that because he changed the words that he said to himself. And it's the words that you say to yourself. You've got, in relationship to the self-talk, you're saying, what do people do? Take 2 sheets of paper, and on 1 sheet of paper, write down all the things that you say to yourself that are negative. Write them down. And even if people say, well, I only say positive stuff, well, that's bullshit, because in your brain, you're not saying just that. You're saying the facts, and you're saying a lot of negative stuff to yourself. You want to write those down. And then in relationship to that, I will share a very important secret thing that I usually share with my coaching clients. I'm going to share it with you here today, which is so important. It's you take a negative statement, you take that, something that you say to yourself, and you turn it into what I call a well-crafted why question. Standard affirmations don't work. If you have three digits in your poker bankroll and you say, I am wealthy, your conscious mind is going to say, bullshit, you're broke, idiot. So that's why standard affirmations do not work. But if you take something that you're saying negatively about yourself and you craft that, you say, what would be the positive side of that? It's like, why? It's something as simple as, why is it easy to win? Why is it fun to win? Why do I play good poker? Why do I make good decisions? Those why questions, you don't have to answer those. They don't have to be a reality right now, because if you ask those questions, you want to craft very short, defined, positive questions into why questions. And you want to have those, and you want to ask them of yourself before you go to sleep at night. Don't answer them. Your subconscious is going to answer them. What's going to happen is they're going to be code modifiers that are downloaded to your subconscious mind that begin to rewrite the software in your subconscious. And its effect is that we can do that. And by asking those why questions without answering them, because the subconscious mind goes about doing it. Our subconscious mind is always awake. It never goes to sleep. So you want to give it something to work on. So if you're going, why am I playing such good poker? It'll start answering it. It'll start rewriting it. And if you do that enough and do that consistently, what's going to happen is you're going to literally rewrite the software in your subconscious mind that is driving you. And you can do that with the well-crafted why questions.
What great advice. Thank you for sharing that with us, Donna.
You are welcome.
I had to mute my mic because security was at my hotel room door. And for those that know, you know what I'm
Bellagio
referring
security. It was Bellagio security.
Was not Bellagio security, but I just thought I'd have a little fun with that. Donna, I'm referring to somebody
Hey,
that.
Sherry,
Hold on, let me update her a minute, Brian.
why is Bellagio security practicing here? Why are they at your door?
Just so don't leave our guest in the dark. There was a guy that used to be in the spaces, and somebody treated him to a free stay at the Bellagio, and unfortunately, so he was on air live in a space one night, and was so loud that, and this is 2 or 3 in the morning, whatever, security knocked on his door while all of us were listening in spaces. And so that was my reference. Just, I didn't want you to not know what I was referring to. And it kind of became a joke in spaces. But anyway, we appreciate those gifts you've given us tonight to think about, Donna. I would like to open up the floor to any questions. If anybody down below would like to come and ask Donna a question or comment, or any of us, please go ahead and request the microphone. We'd love to have you ask questions.
Yeah, I would say, ask me anything.
Right, absolutely. And Donna, tell us about, I know your beloved mom passed last year, Mama Peggy, and you guys did lots of social media fun stuff together. Tell us about your mom for a moment.
Mom was amazing woman. She was the one who helped to create the DNA in me my belief that I can do anything. And it was because she used to read the story. Remember the child book, The Little Engine That Could?
Right.
And it was in the book, it says, I think I can. I think I can, as it's trying to get over up the mountain. And Mother started reading it to me, and she would say the first couple, I think I can, and then she would change it to, I know I can. The book never did that. And so she would read me that story, and that's what she would read. And she did that continually until I believe that I can do anything, and that has held. And that conditioning has been wonderful. And she was a get her done girl. I mean, let me tell you what. And her concept was, her motto was, to stay above the grass, you got to get your butt up. And it was interesting because one of the things that happened 2 weeks before her life graduation, she didn't say, she said, I'm not dying. She said, I'm graduating. And her life graduation was November 2022. And 2 weeks before her passing, I'm sitting at the same desk that I am right now, and she's in the king size bed. Now, my husband, I'm 6'5", and my husband is 5'3". And I just wanted to let you know that because he's a special man. He's absolutely has a big heart. One of the few people I look up to. But we've never. He is. We don't sleep in the same bed because we have different bio clocks. And he has his sleeping room, and I have my sleeping room. But I want you to understand, we do have our playroom, but that's, off the subject. We do have a playroom. So she was, and Mama had broken an ankle, and so I had her sleep with me for almost a year because she was so unstable. I didn't want her to, fall down again. Okay. So 2 weeks before, she sat up in the bed. Now, Mama had been pretty much offline for close to a year. I mean, we didn't talk much because she was hard of hearing, or then she just ignored me. I don't know which one it was, probably a little of both. So she sat up in the bed, straight up in the morning. I do a lot of writing in the mornings, and it was early in the morning. She sat up and she looked at me and she said, Donna, we have to write a book. I said, well, welcome back, Mom. It was like the mother that I knew 20 years ago. And I said, wow, okay, what are we going to write? And she looked at me, and it was like this mother. I mean, it was just astonishing. It was like she was almost out of body. And she said, and I went, what, Mom? What is it? And she said, tell me the title, Donna. And I went, Mom, I don't know. She said, tell me the title. I said, Mom, she said, tell me. And I stumbled around and I said, getting old sucks. Caregiving and learning to let go sucks more. And she looked at me and she said, that's it. And she laid back down. That's the last conversation we had.
Isn't that fascinating?
Yeah. And I'm actually writing a book because, it's like I must have a dozen books on the external drive because I love to write. And I'm just going to get some more publishing done. But I believe that
I love that.
And I mean, as we age gracefully, our body gives reminders of the fact that sometimes this is not so graceful as you age, and you've got to take care of that body.
It's so true. It is so true. Thank you for sharing that with us. And, I followed your journey with your mom for the last few years, and she was always a delight, because she told you like it was, right? And
yeah.
We could all relate to that honesty and
Yeah,
the no filter.
Yeah, that's right. She had no muffler. No muffler.
No muffler, indeed. And she was just a delight.
I love that.
Yeah, I do too. Brian, did you have any questions for Donna?
Yeah, just I want to talk about a little bit more about the main event, running deep, and that stuff. Like, I just love those stories. Like, just going there. Your husband. How did he do in the tournament?
He had his 15 seconds of fame on TV, heads up against Scotty Wynn. he was ended up one of the tables, and he ended up with pocket kings, and he was in a late position, and Scotty was big blind, and my husband simply didn't raise enough. And Scotty called, and he had two middle cards, and Scotty flopped straight, and my
Oh,
husband pushed all in. And in retrospect, he's going, "Oh, I so screwed that up." I said, "Yeah, you did, honey." It's but he had his 15 seconds of fame because he was actually they aired that on TV, so it was kind of fun to do that, and he was so supportive, and he it was funny because when I'm and the main event when I had the ace 10 and I raised before the flop and everybody went away except the guy that was at the table who had he had just tripled his stack. And so he called me and I did not perform well. When the flop came out and it was something, it wasn't a face card, it was a big card. And I absolutely made the biggest mistake, which is I just checked. And, I checked rather than just going ahead and doing a continuation bet. And I had enough chips to do that. And and he checked as well. And when the turn came, it was a case of I pushed all in and I had not shown any power, any confidence. And he hawed and back and forth, and I'm going, please fold your cards. And he ended up calling me with pocket fives. And I'm going, that was the one lesson that I learned about if you're going to raise enough, and if you're going to do that continuation bet. Of course, there's some times when it's best to check, but not rarely. It's certainly not much time. But I was in day 5, and every day my husband was so supportive. He busted out so quick the first day. He would actually go to the coffee shop that we ate at, and he would order the salad. He would get the seat, order the salad, and have everything there, so that when we had that dinner break, I would just go in and have that. And I listened to some meditations that I had found that were short, to the point meditations that would help to clear my energy fields. It helped me to get rid of stuff because, when you're in a huge tournament like that, you have to shield yourself. And there's another mind shift exercise that I'll share with you as we end today. And it has to do with the egg, because you need to put on this mirrored egg around your body that reflects only negativity and it allows the positive to come to you. It's selectively reflective. And it is, I call it the egg, but it's if it's more like almost like a diving suit, because it's not right up next to your body, but it's outside of your energy field. And it's flexible and it goes around you, all the way around you. And we need to use this because we need, especially in an environment with all this energy, is to protect yourself. And it reflects, it's selectively reflective. It does not reflect that negative energy back to where it started. If it does, that's creating bad karma, reflects it out to the universe, and it becomes neutralized and completely recyclable. That egg, and my husband had always said that's when I first met him, he said, that's a stupid thing to do. And then I shared it with him, and we went into a shopping center, and he could go into a shopping center without getting sick. He's such a sensitive man, he would get sick, and that egg has helped. So the egg is something I think poker players really want to do. And I was using that, not as much as I do today. And he was wonderful because he would have the food ready, and he made sure that I had water, and because you're not going to depend on the servers to be able to get the water to you, because water is absolutely critical. And it was every night I would go through that day. What did I do well, and what might I have done differently? And it was interesting because everyone kept saying, you got to acquire chips. And I'm going, I've got enough chips. I'm got enough chips. Never had a really huge stack, but interestingly enough, it didn't matter to me. I don't know how many blinds I had. I probably spent it's probably more like not much more than 20 blinds when I was at the higher levels. But I think it was it's really important to take each day, and when you're in a big event like that, don't go out and socialize. You got to go to bed. Take care of yourself. That's the biggest problem. People that go out and socialize and drink, that's a ludicrous thing to do when you want to perform. Look, if you really want to be a good professional poker, whether you're professional or not, if you want to perform well, think about how an Olympian trains, and you've got to train, and that's really important in relationship to your game. And that's one of the things that I did, that I went so far, is that I didn't worry about how many chips I had, and I focused on, is this the best decision? And I know that I was being too cautious for a long time. And I did finally understand where to take some risks. And because frankly, you never have the cards. I mean, when I started Poker Pure and Simple in 2009, I didn't know why people came to me and want to know how to play poker. I'm going, but I don't do the statistical stuff. I mean, sure, I understand pot odds and that sort of stuff, but it has to do with the mindset work. But in relationship to it, what comes first? It's you. You have to come first. Then it's the other players, and then it's the cards, because we don't need no stinking cards. You got to play the player, and you got to play your own best game. My intention is for you as a poker player to find your authentic game and to play your game rather than trying to mimic someone else's. Find out what and where your strengths are so you can play your authentic game.
Oh, I hope everybody heard those last words, because especially now with so much social media, um, I think that people try to take on some others' personas when they get to the table, and trying to mimic and mock maybe what they've watched on Poker Go. So I think those are very true words that you just gave us. So thank you for that, Donna. And if is there anything else you'd like to share with us? Otherwise, we try to keep our show to an hour, hour and a half.
Wow,
So
look, I didn't
uh,
even realize.
I know that we've started a little late, and it's no problem. If you had something else you'd like to share with us, we will continue on.
Well,
Or
actually, I would like to ask you a question, you and Brian a question. I would
sure,
like to ask you, and I'd like to also say to people, is that mindshiftoндemand.com is where I'd like you to go and opt in for a 4-minute audio of the mind shift exercise that I just did. And my book, Mind Shift on Demand, is on Amazon and Kindle. And I'm going to be publishing the companion journal to that. The 10-day self-talk transformation should be out soon.
I love it. Good for you, Donna. Plug away, my friend. That's
Yeah, but what
awesome.
what I want to ask is, I'd like to ask you and Brian a question, is what is your biggest takeaway from our time together today?
I think just always, always, it's so funny. My big weakness, staying present. Like I want to throw this phone out. And I think that lately what I've been trying to do is when I go some places, I will just leave it in the car.
Mm-hmm.
Um, uh, Near my house, we have these horse trails, and I see people riding their horses, and they're on their phones. I'm
No
like,
kidding. Oh,
is there
Wow.
anything more sad than this? Like get back into like the world and nature and just experiencing things. And ultimately, that's what poker is. Like, I'm not there to earn a living at it. Certainly, want to win and want to do my best, but um, but for me, it's every bit a hobby and that sort of thing. But that like that doesn't mean I don't want to win either. So, but being present, I think, is the big thing. That's a great question. Thank you for that.
I think for me, Donna, I think it's just you know, I coached sports before, been involved with sports, and one of the things I did as a coach was making sure my kids had muscle memory when it came
Mhm.
to certain skills that they need for the basics. And I was definitely somebody that believed in teaching the basics and that you win games through the basics. And
Mhm.
I think that reminder that you gave us to that today was a great reminder of, we got to stick to good, solid, basics at the poker table.
Good, and that's true. And it's interesting because I hadn't. Yeah, I told you it's been so long since I've been out on the felt, and I joined one of the leagues through a Facebook group, and I decided that I'd give it a shot. And it's been, the very inexpensive tournaments, and I really want to play my best game. And I want to tell you what is that last night, I'm happy to say, is that I rid myself of my idiot game because I said, what the hell am I doing? And that's okay because, and I was feeling a little guilty and I went, no, 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 it's good to get it out. That's what you want to be sure that that's something that you would prefer to do something differently next time.
Right.
And I was and it's really interesting because I went on this phenomenal streak in relationship to winning and winning bounties. And I don't know, it was on the probably 4 big cashes in a row. And my ego got too much of me. Your ego, it's really important that you check that ego, man. You gotta have the ego, put the ego in your pocket. Don't have it out there with your game because the ego will kill you in poker. I
You
can
know
attest.
what? Somebody said to me earlier in the year, they called it let me see. They called it the winning tilt,
Mm,
because you're in such a euphoria of winning that you're tilting off your game and you don't even realize it. And I
yep,
thought that was so profound, because it's true. How many times are you at the table and you are winning, and then you start playing hands that you shouldn't play, right? And you're just tilting off your chips. You're winning, tilting off your chips,
yep.
and it's so true. So true. I brought up Cool Chick. Cool Chick, do you have a question for Donna or comment?
I just wanted to say that this was a great interview. I'm so sorry that I missed the first part, but I'm so glad that Sherry and Brian recorded it so that I can go back and listen to it.
Well, thank you, Cool Chick. It's always a pleasure to have you around. And yes, you are more than welcome to listen to that recording as many times as you need to, because there are definitely some great points to be had. I don't have any
Yeah.
other further questions. Do you, Cool Chick or Brian?
There
No,
was one comment
I'm
she
good.
made there at the end. I'm sorry, Brian. Um, uh, at the end of the interview, and I was coming out of the grocery store too while I was listening, but it really it resonated with me, and the whole thing was really interesting though. I'm new to poker, so I listen to every little thing that everybody says, and eh, I feel like you're kind of making a point that you need to find your own way and your own route and your own game, I guess.
And to be new at poker, Cool Chick, I'll tell you that that's really cool because I've always said it's a whole lot easier to work with someone that doesn't know anything about poker than trying to teach old dogs new tricks. And it's when you said you're new at poker, that's wonderful. And you really want to learn the game, follow Sherry and listen to what she's doing. And it's important to do that. Being new to poker is a great place to be. Absolutely a great place to be today. So congratulations.
Thank you.
And whatever you do, Cool Chick, never ever when your friends you're gonna go play a tournament or something, and your friend says, "Can you go to dinner?" Never ever 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 say, "If I bust out early, I'm gonna be there." Like you will never find me ever 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 saying that. Anyway,
That's
Not
smart. That's smart.
manifesting that.
That's right. Because literally what you do is, I will never do a social aspect of the game because of that, because it puts pressure on you. And you don't want to do that. That's ludicrous. You want to play your best game. Focus towards it's one hand at a time. One hand at a time. And remember, the only thing that ever exists is the hand you're in.
And with that, folks, I think we're going to say good night. Donna, thank you so much for joining us. Cool Chick Software. Donna Morton down there, and Zach and Doug and ACP and Ryan. And Ace is up. Thank you all for joining us this evening. Much love to you, Donna. Um, Thank you for being with us.
Honored I am. Thank you so much for having me.
thank you. Yeah, that was great, Donna. Thank you. Appreciate it. Appreciate everybody showing up. Have
You
a
bet.
great week.
Good luck on the felt, folks.